Forget in the closet and under the bed, we've got all of space and time.
They're deadly. What do you want with them?
Welcome to Watch Mojo UK, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 terrifying monsters in Doctor Who. Before we begin, if you enjoy this video, please subscribe for more great content. For this list, we've gathered some of the greatest villains to ever terrorize the TARDIS, and ranked the scariest, spookiest, and most disturbing of all the Doctor's enemies.
Tell me the whole plan!
One day that'll work.
Number 10, Davros. As creator of an apparently endless army of emotionless cyborg aliens, Davros has terrified generations of Who fans.
Who do you obey? We obey Davros! He is our master!
The Daleks are easily the most famous of the Doctor's foes, and their robotic refrains are a nightmare soundtrack to some of the Time Lord's tensest battles. The scare factor has waned slightly with time, but Davros remains as creepy a commander-in-chief as you could ever wish to meet.
I will destroy you and demonstrate the power of the Daleks!
Withered with immense age and barely alive, he's best recognized by a single cybernetic eye smack in the middle of his forehead.
It is only fitting that you should bear witness to the resurrection and the triumph of Davros.
Number 9, Vashta Nerada. DW writers are famed for turning even the most mundane aspects of life into something potentially savage. In this case, it's shadows.
This is not a shadow. It's a swarm. An eating swarm.
Described by the Doctor as piranhas of the air, Vashta Nerada are tiny specks of dust, but when they swarm together, they can instantly melt flesh and kill people. Featured prominently in the 4th series episode, Silence in the Library, the only way to deal with an infestation is to stay within the light.
Doesn't move very fast, does it?
It's a swarm in a suit.
But it's learning.
Which is easier said than done when you're surrounded by rows and rows of ancient towering bookshelves.
Donna has been...
Hey, who turned out the lights?
Number 8, The Silence.
I see you. I see you.
You might think that a face like this is difficult to forget, but that's exactly the power that the Silence possesses. With a look inspired by Edvard Munch's The Scream, the Silence is a religious order which has plagued humanity for centuries.
This world is ours. We have ruled it since the wheel and the fire.
But everyone's oblivious because it's impossible to remember them. With electrokinetic powers and the ability to reduce anyone to ash at a moment's notice, the Silence have supposedly engineered all of human history without us realizing.
Behind you.
Honey, there is nothing.
Which means you might have already seen them today. Maybe they're right behind you right now. Number 7, Midnight Entity. As a rule, anything which worries the Doctor is something worth worrying about, and this thing had David Tennant very concerned.
There is no it. There's nothing out there. Can't be.
When the Doctor visits the resort planet Midnight, a shuttle trip is scuppered by a breakdown and the emergence of a bodiless entity which repeats everything anyone says.
That's impossible.
But that's impossible.
I couldn't repeat.
Tell her to stop.
Tell her to stop.
She's driving me mad.
She's driving me mad.
What sounds like an annoying playground game becomes very frightening very quickly, and hysteria descends on the Doctor's travelling group. With Leslie Sharp playing a perfect possessed passenger, things get real weird when the entity begins predicting what the Doctor says next.
It killed the driver.
And the mechanic.
And the mechanic.
And now it wants us.
And now it wants us.
Number 6, The Vale. Even the Doctor has nightmares, and in the penultimate episode of Series 9, he's forced to face them on repeat.
I am the Doctor. I'm coming to find you, and I will never, ever stop.
Still reeling from Clara's death, Peter Capaldi's 12 is transported to an isolated castle where, in a trippy turn of events, he suffers life on loop for 2 billion years.
How many seconds? In eternity.
The Vale, a hooded embodiment of the Doctor's greatest fears, relentlessly pursues him throughout the ordeal. It's not quick or especially violent, but it never quits. Ghostly appearances aside, being endlessly followed by whatever scares you the most is top level terrifying.
Personally, I think that's a hell of a...
Number 5, The Foretold. In classic Doctor Who fashion, this Series 8 outing features a famous story rewritten with time travel. The Foretold is villain of the piece, laying waste to a futuristic version of the Orient Express, while the Doctor is tasked with working out why, how, and who's next. But this mummy-esque monster can only be seen by the soon-to-be dead. Essentially a 66-second death sentence, its rotting, bandaged body is the last thing you'll ever want to witness. Place a tension-building timer bottom left of our screens, and heart rates have rarely been so high.
I'm the Doctor and I will be your victim this evening. Are you my mummy?
Number 4, The Beast. To one of David Tennant's most iconic TARDIS adventures, and a fight against the devil himself.
These are the words of the beast. And he has woken.
The Beast dwells at the center of an impossibly old planet, raging to be set upon the universe. And while its form remains unknown for much of this two-parter, it infiltrates a deep space exploration crew, possessing a crew member and a legion of Ood.
In the end,
That's not the Ood. Something's talking through them.
only the darkness remains.
Tennant's 10th Time Lord does get a glimpse of the monster itself, however, for a fiery face-off and an epic speech.
You're going into that black hole and I'm riding with you.
Brought to life by Gabriel Wolf's booming vocals, The Beast brought Satan to Saturday night TV. Number 3, The Empty Child.
Mommy. What's happening?
I don't know.
Next, we travel to mid-blitz London, but the air raids aren't the only concern for worried residents. The Empty Child is a ghostly, mask-wearing figure forever looking for its mummy.
Are you my mummy?
In terms of danger and aggression, the Doctor has faced plenty more troublesome adversaries in his time, but this character is one of the most harrowing in the show's history. And as nanogenes work to replicate the look, the eeriest of armies is created. Special mention for Captain Jack Harkness. This was his first trip with the Doctor, and he didn't run a mile afterwards.
Thanks for everything, computer. It's been great.
Number 2, The Flood. If you can't trust the water, then what can you trust? This 2009 special sees the 10th Doctor visit Earth's first Martian colony in 2059 during a fixed point in time in which it explodes.
Oh, I really should go.
The catalyst for this cataclysm? The water source. A contagious virus known as the Flood gradually infects the crew, turning everyone into saturated zombie-like creatures.
We've got to go.
Their cracked faces and watery complexion, combined with a crazed look and evolving intelligence, makes for a monster even the Doctor cannot defeat, no matter how far he bends the rules.
We're safe. It's hermetically sealed. They can't get in.
Water is patient, Adelaide. Water just waits.
Number 1, Weeping Angels. Almost as old as the universe itself, the Weeping Angels take today's terrifying crown, even though they rarely kill their victims. That would be a waste of time and energy. Instead, they transport their targets to the past, leaving them to live out their existence elsewhere.
There's a gravestone here for someone with the same name as me.
What?
And nothing is deadlier, stealthier, or more disturbing than an angel in pursuit. Time-locked as statues whenever they're observed, turn away for a millisecond and they're at your throat. The angels aren't the Doctor's only statuesque enemy, but they're hands down the scariest. Just ask the 1930s New York Tourist Board.
You gotta be kidding me.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from Watch Mojo UK and subscribe for more great content.